FBI searches home and terror inquiry that reached Queens. The inquiry into a possible terrorist plot against New York City has deepened as federal agents executed another search warrant in the case at the Colorado home of the man at the center of the investigation. A lawyer for the man, Najibullah Zazi, did not return calls for comment, although Mr. Zazi had asserted his innocence in interviews this week and said he was hoping to speak with FBI agents. In the interviews, Mr. Zazi, 25, said he could not fathom why he was the focus of an elaborate surveillance operation by law enforcement officials. He said he drove to New York City in a rental car last week to try to resolve an issue with a coffee cart that he said his family is licensed to operate in Lower Manhattan, an account supported by the person now operating the cart. Why are they scaring the people of New York or the whole U.S.? Said Mr. Zazi, who added that he was upset over what he characterized as falsehoods being spread about him. Federal agents in Aurora, Colorado, were inside the Zazi home in an apartment complex on East Smoky Hill Road, officials said. The Denver Post reported that agents arrived approximately at 2 p.m., that some entered in white suits and purple gloves. At the same time, agents in New York and Washington were going through items seized in raids of homes in Queens. The items included phone books, papers, computers, cell phones, and backpacks. Evidence is being culled through to determine if clues can be found in advance or to advance an intense investigation that began before Mr. Zazi drove to New York last week. Mr. Zazi's arrival in New York on the eve of the anniversary of the September 11th attack, days ahead of President Obama's speech on Wall Street, was the catalytic event in the case. But investigations bursting into public view deflated some of the local and federal authorities involved, officials said, and worsened the sometimes strained relations between the New York Police Department and the F.B.I. Investigators have been left to pursue leads before fully understanding any potential intentions for wrongdoing or figuring out the range of possible targets or means of attack, officials said. Federal officials said they were somewhat frustrated by the way the investigation was conducted on the ground. Mr. Zazi was stopped at the George Washington Bridge on September 10th as he entered New York. In addition, photos of him were shown to his acquaintances in Queens, one of whom tipped him off, a government official has said. And once Mr. Zazi flew back to Colorado, the agents were forced to scurry to get search warrants, with prosecutors in New York and Washington caught off guard and quickly drafting the legal documents. Still, top New York and federal officials were declaring their partnership. When asked at a news conference in Midtown Manhattan about reports of friction between the police and the FBI, the police commissioner, Raymond W. Kelly, shot back and said, "Not true." At a Senate hearing in Washington, the FBI director, Robert S. Mueller III, said under questioning by Senator Charles E. Schumer, "I can say without any reservation that our relationships with NYPD in this and other investigations could not be better, and that New Yorkers are well benefited by the work of NYPD and Ray Kelly in making the city safe." At least part of the narrative that Mr. Zazi provided about his cross-country trip was confirmed by a coffee cart operator in Lower Manhattan, who spoke of his ties to the Zazi family. The vendor, who refused to give his name, said he had operated the cart since August 2008 under a one-year rental contract with Mr. Zazi's father. The vendor said that Mr. Zazi had visited the cart on Whitehall Street, joking and laughing with old customers. The vendor said he had contacted the family a month ago to renegotiate his contract, discuss the rent, describe how a sidewalk closing on Stone Street had put a cramp in his business. And then at 3:30 a.m. on Monday, as he was setting up, he said two unmarked cars pulled up. A man in one flashed a badge and identified himself as an undercover officer. The vendor said he was not sure if the officer was a federal agent or a city officer. So, was this a real threat? Or what they call a so-called false flag event? Something in the order. Is this extreme paranoia taken to the maximum? Could be. Very well could be. And this is not really the threat. The threat for the next 911 comes from Afghanistan, and in particular, to be specific, Pakistan. Because what does Pakistan have? Nuclear weapons. And what militant group is in Pakistan? Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and other various militant groups, whatever have you called them. And what has the U.S. been fighting? Or who have they been fighting for the last 8 years, now going on 9? The Taliban, or Al-Qaeda, whoever they be. And there is a real possibility. Yes, it may not sound good, but there is a very real possibility. Sometime in the future, not too much more, not too much longer, perhaps the next year or so, somewhere along those lines, that someone or some group like the Taliban or Al-Qaeda in Pakistan could obtain, steal, or get a nuclear weapon or device of some kind. It is a real possibility, because that's the only way these groups, if they haven't figured it out already, are probably going to figure it out. That's the only way they're going to be able to do anything, because the United States has very tight security now. This is an example of extremely tight security. So, very likely, most likely, there will be another 911. And most likely, it'll be in the same place it was first time. New York City. Very likely. It becomes more likely every day. Watch the news. There is a pattern emerging. A very serious pattern. Time is getting closer. Perhaps it's not a matter of if, but more like a matter of when. This will be the biggest threat to the United States. The nuclear 911. It is possible, given all the events happening, and especially what's happening in Afghanistan and Pakistan. The more troops you send, the more the resentment and the anger builds against the U.S. That's just the way it works. That's the facts. And come out of her. Come ye out of her, my people. Be not partakers of a plague. For in 1 hour, 1 minute or second, there will be sudden destruction. So come come out of my people. And these are more signs of the times, end times, transition days. There must be a transition, and this could cause a lot of change to happen.